we should be really excited about that, because we didn't just meet them because they got married or because they had children. We met them because they actually came to Moses with a legal issue. And they actually came to Moses with something that changed the course of the law regarding land and inheritance. These 5 women you met 2 weeks ago were called the daughters of Zelophehad. And their father died and left no sons. And they went to Moses pleading for the land that their father had that would have been inherited by a son, but there was no son to inherit it. And Moses eventually ruled with guidance and wisdom and inspiration that yes, these daughters of Zelophehad could inherit their father's land. And we say, yay, what a victory. And then we come to this week's portion 2 weeks later, and it's not such a victory. What happens in this week's portion is the men in the tribe that they are in, Manasseh, son of Joseph tribe, complain. And they're like, we don't want to lose our land, because if those 5 women marry out of our tribe, what's going to happen to the land? It's gone to other tribes. And so, because they complain, like I said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, the daughters of Zelophehad are allowed to inherit the land, but guess who they can only marry? Those within their tribe. And once they marry, who does the land go to? Back to the men and then to the next generation. And so we can look at this portion and be annoyed and say like, oh, so typical. But Aviva Zornberg, who's a great scholar of Torah and a female scholar, teaches about this portion a different perspective. Rather than curse it, you can look at this and say, listen, this is reality and this is what happens. But it represents something more beautiful. If you think about the time that this is given in the Torah, Moses is on the way out. He's going to die before they enter in the land of Israel. And who's going to become the new leader? Joshua. And so Aviva Zornberg looks at this moment. We're like 4/5 the way through Torah. We're going to finish the book of Numbers tonight, and says, look how Moses has changed. Look how the planks on his ship have changed. Look at his personality and his wisdom that has changed, that he is willing to listen to these 5 women in the portion and change the course of the law, even though it's not a full victory, because it will go back to their husbands when the daughters of Zelophehad marry. It becomes a permanent law where if there is no son to inherit, the daughters inherit and must marry within their tribe, and then the land stays. And Aviva Zornberg looks at this and say, we rejoice in this. We rejoice in this moment because everybody is worried about Moses dying and what's the future going to look like and how are we going to go forward. And then we are reminded here that even Moses in his wisdom and his age at 120 can change his mind. He can have new views even of women. And he lets Joshua inherit a world where they have seen the leader Moses change. It would be much harder for Joshua to change things if Moses was stiff and stubborn and wasn't willing to listen to the daughters of Zelophehad. But Moses changes. And that's the power of studying anything, whether it's gender or race or anything in society that just hasn't always been as it should be, and looking at the leadership and saying, you can change. You can pave a path that is better. And if you do, it creates a better future and a better generation. And so we look at the daughters of Zelophehad in this portion where they have to give the land back and marry within their tribe. And we can look at this glass half full and say, look, there is a change. There's a future that's better. And it also becomes a metaphor for the way these things work. Because if you think about the way things advance and the way things change, it's not all at once. It's not usually a sea change. It's battle by battle, incident by incident, thing by thing that it happens, piece by piece. And in the same way that women are associated with the moon, and these daughters of Zelophehad mimic the moon because they have a moment of full moon, of bright victory, where they have gotten the power to go to Moses and speak from their heart and really fight for something they believe is just. And then like the moon that wanes, it will disappear and it will go back to the way it was. But ultimately the moon will come out again and there will be a bright sky and something else will change. And if we look at victories in gender equity, not as a hope that everything will change automatically, because it's just not the way the world works, but that it works like the moon, where there are bright moments like there was 2 weeks ago, and then there will be moments where it seems like the victory is hidden. Ultimately, over time, we will realize that we have made a world that is better and more beautiful. And if Moses can change, can't we all, really? Shabbat Shalom.